Hey, what's going on, everybody? It is your boy Tim, back with another video. And in today's video, I wanted to talk about fear. Now, this is a topic I've talked about a lot in the past, but I feel like things have changed. I feel like kind of some of the points I made in my previous videos about fear, while still valid, just kind of don't work for today's day and age. The world has changed in the course of a matter of months, and I feel like it's going to change even more in the coming months. And I feel like there's so much more out there to be afraid of. There's so much more uncertainty out there, and there is so much more fear and fear-mongering going on. So much more fear being thrown at us, so much more fear-mongering going on, and it can be overwhelming. Especially since all of us are like sitting at home. Most of us aren't working. We're worried about money. We're worried about, what the future is going to bring. We're worried about not going crazy, being stuck in the house. Every single day, new news stories come in about what could happen, what is happening other places. And this stuff just sits in it just brews in your head, A lot of us, one of our best coping mechanisms in life used to be staying busy, going to work. There might have been a lot of stuff happening at home or other stuff going on, but you could go to work, you can put in your 8 to 10 hours, and for a while you could forget about it because your mind was on something else while you were at work. These days, a lot of us don't even have that luxury. We ain't even got the luxury of going to work and forgetting about things. You just sit at home and you're thinking about this stuff, right? And it can make you very afraid. I myself even did a video recently where I was like, I'm not gonna lie, I'm scared. And I was. That's when a lot of this stuff first started happening. It's scary. It's scary. You get fearful. And I do think a big part of that, like I mentioned earlier, is that there's a lot of fear-mongering going on. Now, the news has always done this. Like they say, if it bleeds, it leads. Because we're all scared of the stories that involve loss of life or pain and suffering or bodily harm, things like that. So they always put that on the news in the beginning because they want you, because if you see something like that, you tune in. Okay? And that is why the news has always done that. They're continuing to do that. That's why they just keep harping on all the negative stuff that's going on now, all the scary things that are going on now. You've heard more talk about death on the news in the past month than you've probably heard in years. Okay? They're doing this because the news is a business. The more you tune in, the better it is for ratings. And they know the one thing that will always make you tune in is things that scare you. And then they don't give you an answer. They present you with this very fearful situation. This is what's going on. And then they don't give you a fix. They don't give you an answer. So you feel like you need to tune in tomorrow night again to find out maybe if there is a solution to all this. And then they don't. It just is, it's a circle. And a lot of content creators I've noticed online have picked up the same formula. It works for the news. It works for people who make YouTube videos and other, who create content for other platforms. If we get scared, we watch. But I will say, and as a content creator, in our defense, sometimes at times like these, when we're scared, we want to talk about it. So I've been having to try to make a concerted effort to not just put up a bunch of videos fear-mongering. Because I think of ideas and I'm like, ooh, that could happen. Let me share it. And some of it I do, and some of it I'm like, no, I'm not. And even when I do, I try to present it in a manner that's like, I'm trying to keep you informed, not make you fearful. But I think a lot of content creators, some of them are just greedy and don't care. They just want the ad revenue. They just want you to watch. They're scared about their finances for the future, I'm sure, like the rest of us are. So they're trying to do anything they can to gin up that revenue while it's still there. Do I think it's right to just for the news to do it, or content creators? Or I don't even think it's right that one guy at work who's always going around talking about scary stuff and making everybody at work scared. I don't even think that's right. No. I think we all should keep in mind that all of us are scared here. And we don't want to pass fear along just because it brings us in money or views or gives us something to talk about. But this video is not solely about just talking about the ways you can be scared, because that's easy. In this video, I wanted to talk about the truth behind like being scared and being afraid. And I honestly believe, and this is what I had to dwell on, because like I said, y'all saw my video, I was scared. I was very scared. Not so much anymore, because I've been spending the last 3 weeks just kind of focusing on just thinking about fear. Did you know it's true that nothing can scare you that you don't let scare you? Nothing can cause you fear, or that intense fear where your stomach's knotted up and you're afraid. Nothing can make you afraid unless you let it. This is true. Everything you are scared of in life, it is because somewhere along the line you decided to be afraid of it. And the reason I know this is true, you can take, for example, like when you were a kid. Lots of things scared you as a kid. Lots of things that don't scare you now. And why is that? Well, you'll say, well, because I'm an adult. Yes. But somewhere along the line in the process to becoming adult, or after you became an adult, you realize that that was not something to be scared of. You might used to have been scared of the dark. You realize somewhere along the line it wasn't anything to be scared of. You might used to be scared of your aunt's cat or something crazy. You got bigger, you realize it's nothing to be scared of. There were so many things, we all used to be scared of as children, that as we got older, we realized we made the conscious decision not to be scared of anymore. You said, oh, that's not anything. Nothing's going to happen at night. I'm not scared of the dark anymore. That cat's too little. It can't do nothing to me. I'm not scared anymore. That bully at school, I'm bigger than him or her now, or I'm just smarter than him or her now. I'm not going to let it scare me. So we can decide what scares us and what doesn't. Things that used to scare us cannot scare us anymore. It's all mental. So all the stuff that's going on in the world right now, you can get to a point where it does not scare you. It does not make you afraid, where the fear is not overwhelming. But you really have to just think about it and reason about it and look at it for what it is. And then come up with reasons why it doesn't scare you. And for me, the main reason why I'm a little less fearful is because I have just embraced the fact that there's nothing I can really do about most of it. Nothing I can really do about most of it. And also I've realized that a lot of the stuff that people are saying could happen. Now the stuff that is happening, nothing I can do about it. But a lot of the stuff that people are saying could happen will not happen. Like everybody can't be right. It can't be all of the conspiracy theories and all the bad things they say are going to happen at once. Everybody can't be right. So do I think there are some tough times ahead? Yes. But I can't stop them. I can't stop them. And also, it probably won't be as bad as a lot of people say it is. Okay? It's going to have to take one path and be bad along that path. So instead of sitting here and just getting scared by every little news story I hear, I've just realized I can't control what's really going to happen. All I can control is what I do. So, like I said earlier, I'm trying to stay informed and not be fearful. So I do look at some news clips on YouTube. I pick and choose the ones I look at. I don't just sit mindlessly in front of the TV watching the news. Television programming. They call it programming they don't even try to hide it. Television programming. That's what they call it. Because it's programming. Anyway, and I try to stay informed. Okay, this is what is going on. If I can find a credible news source I believe in, if enough people are saying it, I'm like, okay, this is kind of what's going on. How can I prepare? Is there anything I can do to prepare for that or to deal with that? That's all I can do. And then I don't dwell on all these other possibilities. I come up with a hypothesis in my head that I think might happen, and then I try to prepare for that, and that's it. So there's really no point in just like sitting around and being scared of all this other stuff, because most of it won't happen. You know how much stuff you were scared of in the past that never happened? Think about it. That's the thing, like, we forget all the stuff that throughout our 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years of our life, we have been scared of that never happened. 90% of the things we were fearful of for the future never happened. Do you remember, were you born in the 80s like me? I was born in the late 70s, but 70s, 80s, remember when they were saying the world would never get to the year 2000 and we were so scared? Speaking of the year 2000, remember Y2K? They had us so scared. Like all these things. That's the funny thing about being scared of something in the future is when the future comes and it doesn't happen, you forget about it, you start being scared about something else. It's a lot better for you. And your mental health if you just stop being scared about stuff. Just realize what's going to happen is going to happen. All you can control is how you react to it, and just don't let all this. First of all, try not to even watch all this other craziness. You know, sometimes you might really want. I see some news stories that I'm like, ooh, it triggers my interest, it piques my interest, but I won't watch because I'm like, I'm not going to let myself engage in that because I don't need all that negativity, all that fear on me. So first off, don't even engage in as much as that stuff as possible. Pick and choose what news you look at. And then secondly, just realize most of that stuff they're talking about isn't going to happen. Some of the stuff they're saying is happening isn't true. Like, look at the stuff you have control over, stuff you know is going on, and just try to control that. And just don't let yourself, and you can say to yourself, I'm not letting that scare me. And when you first start doing that, there will be times where you don't mean it, where you're like, you don't believe it. You'd be like, I'm not gonna let that scare me. But deep down inside, your heart's doom, 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 doom. But over time, the more you say, I'm not gonna let that scare me, I'm not even gonna engage in that, like I'm not even gonna go in, nah, you're not scaring me. It'll start to become truth. Like you can speak things into existence. You tell yourself what to be afraid of. You can decide. That's how it was when you were a kid. You know, when you first started to be like, maybe that bully isn't as big as me. You were still a little afraid, but over time you kept telling yourself, nah, it's not to be. And eventually it came true. The same with a lot of this stuff here. Okay, are bad things gonna happen? Probably. Do we know exactly what? No. Is there a possibility nothing really bad happens and things go kind of back the way they were? Yes. You know, so instead of sitting and just getting scared and so worried, just tell yourself you're not going to worry about it. And over time, that will become your truth. And you can get on with just way more important. And then instead of sitting around being scared, is just doing what you can do. What can I do now? We've been blessed with an opportunity, a lot of us, to sit at home for weeks or months with nothing really to do. There's so much we can be doing. Now, understand when you're fearful, it puts you in a bad mood, you don't want to do nothing, you just sit in the bed and stress eat and binge watch TV shows. I've done it too. But if you could pull yourself up, give yourself a couple days to do that. Why not? You first get fired, laid off, furloughed, give yourself a couple days to gain a few pounds, stress eating in the bed. But when that's done, pick yourself up, make the conscious effort to not let the fear get to you, not be afraid of this stuff, and do something different. We're all different. I love YouTube. I love making videos. This is what I'm spending my time on. I've been going for walks, things like that. Within the parameters of my lockdown, my stay-at-home order. But you got to figure out something for you that can occupy your time. And I've also been trying to do productive things like, going to the store and getting food. Some foods I would normally not eat, but just trying to get foods and stockpile a little more food than normal, just in case things get crazy. Spend more time trying to do productive things to help you prepare for whatever happens, as opposed to just sitting around coming up with new things to be scared of. Anybody can do that. Anybody can just sit around and be scared all day. It takes a little special something, a little something that I know each and every one of you have in you. It takes a little extra something to say, okay, let me just start getting prepared. Let me do what I can do. Let me get myself, my family, my surroundings in order, in shape, so that no matter what happens, we can do the best we can to endure it, come out the other side of it. And the good thing is, if you can wrap your head around in a very fearful, stressful situation like this, if you can get to the place where you're not super scared, you're not super fearful, when things do, because all things go to balance. So there's really bad times, there's really good times, but most of life is somewhere there in the middle. When things do get back to that middle ground, you will keep that mindset. You will still be unafraid. You won't go back to being that fearful person. And it will make your life so much better if you could live through a time like this and not be fearful. When you get to times that are a little easier and things are more back to normal, you will be just so far ahead of the pack then, and not being afraid, not being fearful. So that was my little, 2 cents on that. It's something I've really been trying to work on and practice. Been listening to a lot of Zen and audio books and reading books on Stoicism, and just really trying to embrace the fact that if I don't want to be scared, I don't have to. Some stuff I just have no control over, and the things I do, I'm going to work on. So don't let it get you down. Don't be afraid. Don't let the fear consume you. Just take it day by day. We're going to get through this, each and every one of us. Talk to you later.